Hello, my name is Kathleen Walsh. I would like to call this meeting to order on Monday, October 4th, 2010. I am the lucky winner of the Elmhurst Mayor for a Day essay contest. We will begin the meeting by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to thank Mayor DeCiani and all the nice people in the mayor's office and the chief of police and his assistants for this honor. I have enjoyed my time as mayor and really enjoyed my trip to Washington, D.C. Thank you all for coming.
Mayor Walsh, that was an excellent introduction. And to establish a quorum, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Gutenkopf.
Here.
Pezza.
Here.
Shea.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Rose. Absent. Graham.
Here.
Hipskin. Absent. York.
Here.
Nybo. Absent. Healy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
11 present, 3 absent.
11 present, 3 absent. We have an official quorum. And we are privileged today to have a specially powered mayor for the day, Kathleen Walsh from Visitation School. And I had the privilege of seeing Kathleen along with her teachers and her fellow classmates this morning. And I'm delighted by this young lady's essay and her abilities. And I would actually ask for Deputy Chief Doherty to come for the Mayor for the Day presentation, please. And then we're going to go to, obviously, something special here in a few minutes with our Fisher One-Room Schoolhouse celebration. So, Deputy Chief Doherty, if you can come up for the presentation, please. And Mayor Walsh will join me at the podium along with our runner-up.
I need the glasses now. Hi, thanks. My name's Jim Doherty. I'm recently retired from the police department, but I've been involved with Character Counts in Elmhurst since its inception. And one of the things we did is we partnered with Mayor for the Day essay contest in its 4th year of being held. And I would like to take a quick moment. This essay contest and all the wonderful prizes the winners get was the work of one man and one man only. His name was Dick Chase. And his son, Kent, and his wife, Mary Jo, are here, and I'd like to recognize them because this is probably the most wonderful local essay contest the world has ever seen. So thank you very much for that. Quickly, I'd like to recognize our sponsors because one of the things that Dick was able to do was arrange a trip to Washington, D.C. with airfare and hotel, a scholarship to the Elmhurst College, a membership at the Elmhurst YMCA, breakfast for McDonald's for classmates of the winner, recognition by the FBI for the 2nd place winner, and this man was incredible, and he put together this wonderful contest. And I'd quickly like to recognize our sponsors because this was a very challenging year with the economy and everything else, but our sponsors, like all the members in the Elmhurst community, went above and beyond to make this a really memorable experience for Kathleen and our 2nd place winner, Callie. Our sponsors were Elmhurst College, obviously, Dawn Davis from the YMCA, Special Agent Larry Latt and Bob Walker, and a little explanation on that in a minute. Trish Hall from McDonald's. Because of a bunch of challenges, Trish Hall went above and beyond this year to actually bring the McDonald's to Kathleen's school at Visitation and serve the kids in the classroom this year because we didn't want to take her out of class. Usually we try and do this in the summer, but things got a little out of kilter. But Trish, who is a wonderful supporter of everything we do in the community, came through for us again. And Peter Roscom, who gave him a wonderful personal tour when they went out to Washington. So thanks again to all our sponsors. That's what makes this possible. And they really stepped forward and help this contest come off again in a very difficult year. I'd like to call up Callie Pecoraro real quick. Callie was our second place winner. She's from Conrad Fisher, and I think you're going to get a good flavor of the Conrad Fisher School community in a few minutes. This is Principal Jane Bailey. She is also on our Character Counts board. But Callie was our second place winner. For that, she's going to get a scholarship from Elmhurst College if she decides to attend in the tune of $500. And I have that certificate here for you, Callie. The mayor's going to present it. If I got the right one. Next one. There we go. And a certificate for your winning the second place in the Mayor for the Day essay contest. The essay contest has changed over a number of years because of some challenges. We used to recognize all the winners at the closing ceremonies for Elmfest. Because of economics, that became a challenge. We've had to do some things differently. But one of the things we've always been able to do is recognize the second place winner with the FBI. We have an Elmhurst resident who has helped us with this for the last 5 years. His name is Bob Walker. He was supposed to be here tonight. I got a call from him, and he says, Jim, I got to go to Panama. Bob is on the FBI SWAT team. I said, you going down there to train? He goes, no, something's going on in Panama. So that's why Bob is not here, but we'll get something from the FBI and get it over to Callie. I talked to her mom, and we'll get that arranged. So thanks to Callie. Wonderful job on her essay. And then our winner is Kathleen Walsh. Kathleen got all the prizes I mentioned before. She went out to Washington with her mom. I understand she had a wonderful time out there, wonderful experience. For Kathleen, we have the scholarship from Elmhurst College and a certificate, a plaque for her winning with her essay on the back for her to keep for all time. So thanks for your time, and congratulations. One more thing, and I'm very sorry that I didn't mention this beforehand. When we got to our challenges because of the economy, the ability to send the winner to Washington was in doubt. And Kickoff for Kids and Michael Espiza stepped forward to sponsor the airfare for the winner. And it was a last-minute thing. They came completely, came to the front and really helped it out and made this experience wonderful for Kathleen and her family. So I'm sorry I didn't recognize them before, but they did a wonderful job. They really stepped in at the end. And Cindy Lucking from Unique Travel, who's always been our stalwart in this thing, stepped in, got the whole thing organized on very short order. So I'd like to thank both of them, and I'm sorry I didn't get them the first time around. So thanks again. To get the parents up with the winners for a picture for the paper, Mr. and Mrs. Walsh and Callie's parents, come on up. We'll get you in the Elmhurst Independent, because D. Longfellow's our intrepid, stalwart supporter of Mayor for the Day contest. Thanks again.
Somebody's dancing.
And Mayor Walsh is continuing to assist me. Actually, she's doing such a great job. I think she may be replacing me over the next several meetings. But Mayor Walsh, what's next on the agenda?
And now, one-room schoolhouse tribune for Conrad Fisher students.
All right, that's the one-room schoolhouse that we recently opened. It was a mid-1800s one-room schoolhouse. It's called the Churchville One-Room Schoolhouse. And with us tonight, we have Conrad Fisher and a delightful group of kids, along with their teacher, to do a little celebration presentation. Conrad Fisher.
Mayor Walsh, Mayor DeCiani, it's my privilege to introduce Mrs. Louise Durning, our music teacher and choral director, and the chorus from Conrad Fisher School. Early in in the last century, the Smithsonian Institution sent music anthropologists into the field to annotate and record songs of America's pioneers. From the whaling villages of New England to the gold rush camps of California, John Lomax, John Work, Bessie Jones, Gene Ritchie, and others gathered a musical treasure trove which has been bequeathed to all of us so that we may enjoy and appreciate the music of bygone days. This rich collection of treasures is alive and well in the music classroom at Conrad Fisher School. Today you will have an opportunity to glimpse into the nation's history through the songs of its children. Unique to America, the Play Party offered young people a way to meet others their age and engage in delightful music and movement that captures the historic origins of the songs. Using found instruments such as washboards, sleigh bells, and jugs, these parties use figures not unlike the square dance, which was beginning to gain popularity in the mid-1800s. Alabama Gal opens the program and introduces the first, or head couple, through a reel, eventually involving all of the children. Performed by older children, listen for the braggadocious "Ain't I Rock Candy," signifying adolescent confidence and bravado.
Step lively.
Paw Pants is a delightful little number that introduced the youngest children to the art of the play party, while it extolled the virtue of the lowly fruit, the prickly pear. See if you can determine how the pawpaw was harvested while you enjoy this performance by some of our second graders.
Step lively.
last party is entitled Jubilee. There are two distinct moods within the party. The first is joyful in tone, although the words express the hardships of life on the prairie. The second part, though proclaiming Jubilee or celebrate, has a dark and foreboding quality despite the actions that accompany the music. Look for the figure called Ring the Dish Rag and listen for the tone color change that happen when the soloists take their turns.
Step lively.
On behalf of the children of Conrad Fisher School, I would like to thank the City of Elmhurst and the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation for making us a part of this very special occasion in the community. It is our hope for this moment that you've had a chance to step back in time and relive the days long past when children from the surrounding farms sang and played their games in the Churchville schoolyard. It would also be our hope that the children of Elmhurst will have continued opportunities to learn about the Elmhurst community through programs offered through the newly renovated Churchville Schoolhouse. The schoolhouse and its history are truly treasures unique to Elmhurst.
I would like to thank Louise Durning, the teacher that actually put this together from Conrad Fisher. She did a great job. Principal Bailey, who put all this together as well, too, and gave the ability. Most of all these beautiful kids that just did a terrific job. They're so impressive. They're so talented. God bless you guys and gals. We're so happy to have you here, and it really, I think, was a good celebration send-off for the one room. It's a blast from the past. You've got the costumes. You've got the act down. I think you guys are just terrific. And I also invite you all to come single file through this line over here and actually shake the hands of all the aldermen up at the council here, if that would be great. Thank you. so cute. Very nice.
The one with the ponytails.
Let's go.
There she is. God, it was, it was really going.
Congratulations. Hi, how are you? Fantastic, gals. Absolutely fantastic. High five.
They were
Great job. Congratulations, guys. Fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's this lady right here.
Look how much Oh, of course. That was schmooze. Nice job.
Congratulations very much. Yeah, more. Great. Magnificent. Congratulations. Thank you. One more high five. Enjoyed it as much here as out there.
Thanks a lot.
Here you go. Don't leave me
Good
hanging.
job. You guys did so good.
Great job. Watch it, Gordon. You got something coming soon.
Where's Maya? Maya. Oh, yeah.
That's two of them.
Oh, yeah.
High five, buddy.
That was kind.
Good job, and 99% of
There's my
shake
little
hands.
bouncer.
Good thing, too.
There she is.
I'm impressed that no one collided.
Wow.
Awesome job.
Absolutely.
Nice job.
That's it. The back one's good. Good job.
One more, two more.
My pleasure. All right.
Wow, was that good?
Want another one?
We don't get many things
Yeah,
good
the
as
Wednesday.
this.
Out of town.
I don't know what that says.
Hey, I'll get it done. My pleasure. Very nice. Thanks for coming out. You guys are great.
They don't want to stay for public forum?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Your kids are great.
I want to see the new mayor call everybody to order.
Let's go. Good job. Thank you. Pleasure.
We won't make fun of you.
Oh, sure.
25.
You can't even hear a word you're saying.
Years I personally worked toward
Will you hold the gavel up?
Mary.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys
Not yet.
Maybe 21.
How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My daughter was the last client.
Sure.
I want to see a picture. I don't see a picture. Anyway, don't get them out.
In a picture? She's dying to do
I know. The power of the camera.
I don't know, but
Oh, it's only for a photo op. I was hoping that it was going to be the same.
wow, when I saw it, I didn't know what to expect. I was like,
Yeah, that's that. That's here. Here it's, that was a great job. Cannot act without a report and recommendations. Well,
The Elmhurst
Action shots.
really do understand that they're supposed to be in their seats because we're in the middle of a meeting. Wow. I would guess we'll get some commentary.
that's the whole. That's the bottom.
Wouldn't be the
What's
same
this
without.
about?
Or Kathleen. There was no parking because of all these people.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, this is about the tie that they had on the cell tower?
My neighbor's coming, maybe.
Well done, Patrick.
If I pass, then she
What did he do?
Look, I did all day.
Table.
Oh, if you want to pass, just go.
Good job, Pat.
What are we doing? Shaking babies at this.
I guess I. Anything for a vote.
I didn't. We were just talking about. I said not really.
What?
If I go, she's not here.
Oh, you're signing both of you.
Yeah, but if I go, she's not here.
All right, so I'll call your name, and if you pass, then I call Patricia Reginelli.
Nice job, Dave.
Got it.
Back to our normal attendance record.
I'm ready.
They were cute.
And read writing.
We still got a bunch of firemen here. So.
When I was walking in, kind of like, so we could have come in at 8:15. We would have missed time.
didn't have it.
I saw it once.
Maybe I should.
I know, yeah, I know. I've met the mother.
It looks like it's
As the room clears and we get ready for our swearing in of one of our firefighters, I want to mention that also Elmhurst is celebrating its 100th year anniversary, and I believe it's October 14th. Is that right? I don't have the card in front of me. I see Kathy Jordan nodding her head. Is that celebration? It's going to be at the Elmhurst Historical Museum. I encourage everyone to attend. Our town has a ton of history. We're a town that's also in the progressive and doing some great things, but I think the thing that really makes Elmhurst unique over the Napervilles and a lot of the other towns that are out there is that we remember the culture in the past that really made us who we are, and this is just an example of that with the one-room schoolhouse, and but also now the anniversary of our town, 100 years, celebrating on October 14th. So I encourage everyone to come out and celebrate at the Elmhurst Historical Museum that event as well. And with that, I have Mayor Walsh still with me by my side. We are going to swear in a battalion chief. Would you like to step up to bring your wife or your family? This is Lieutenant Anashevitz, who is actually being promoted to battalion chief. And Mr. Anashevitz, Lieutenant Anashevitz, if you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the City of Elmhurst,
and the ordinances of the City of Elmhurst,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of battalion chief
the duties of battalion chief
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Mayor Walsh? Many celebrations today, and our people are something I think that are number one to us. They really make us who we are. They serve and protect us. And this man has done a fine job, and we welcome him to that position. And as we welcome all the other guys, I see all our firefighters out in the back that risk their lives every day to protect our families. And that's, I think, what Elmhurst is all about. It's about the people that help protect us and serve us. And God bless you guys for all the hard work that you do. So I was out at the station yesterday watching you guys do the extrication, and you guys did a terrific job. And I think really people realize the importance when they see stuff like that happen of what you guys do. So God bless. Ready, Mayor? And at this time, item number 6 on the agenda is a presentation of lead certification, FGM Architects. Would you like to meet us down at the podium there? Want to come up here?
No singing and dancing here. So, hello, good evening. My name is Andy Jasek. I'm with FGM Architects.
I'm Valerie Jardin. I'm also with FGM Architects. I'm much shorter than Andy.
I'm Michael Maher from McHugh Construction.
Mayors, and the City Council. We're happy to be here tonight because on behalf of FGM and McHugh Construction, we'd like to acknowledge the accomplishments of Fire Station Number 2 in its LEED certification and obtaining a silver rating. It's been a long year to go through paperwork and the certification process, but we're happy to say that we did accomplish it. We're one of 5 fire stations in the state of Illinois now that received this. It was your goal to aspire to become environmentally friendly with the building of this station, and so congratulations, and we have a plaque here tonight that we'd like to present. But right before that, if I could, we got some other good news late Friday. We submitted the station also for an award through Fire Chief Magazine. You know, every profession has a magazine. And each year they have a nationwide station style contest. And we submitted the station under the satellite category, and we found out that we received a bronze rating. So that's there's probably over 100 stations submitted every year nationwide. So to receive that rating is just great. So with all the hard work of our entire team, Chief Kopp, Chief Bassador, it's been a pleasure working with everybody, and thank you very much, and congratulations.
Let's have a round of applause for our general contractor, McHugh, the architect. The station is state-of-the-art. It was brought in on time, under budget, and that's what we try and do in this town. And it's a co-ed establishment. It's got separate men and women facilities, which the previous facility didn't have. And it's going to probably serve the biggest asset, which is the people, number one, but probably the second biggest asset in the south end of town, which is our brand new hospital. It's going to serve it well. So thank you guys, and we appreciate all your help. I don't know, Mayor Walsh, you're kind of a natural at this. All right. And at this time, item number 7 on the agenda, receipt of written communications and or petitions from the public. If there's anyone with any written communications and or petitions, if you please present those to Clerk Spencer at this time. Thank you. Anyone else with petitions and or written communications?
How does that lady pronounce her name? I don't either. I couldn't read it. I'll just say that's that.
Thank you very much. And next on the agenda is public forum. And Clerk Spencer, is anyone signed up for public forum at this time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have, first off, I have to apologize. I cannot read the handwriting. It's 566 West Gladys. Oh, Claude. You've changed your penmanship on me.
No, I stopped printing. My name is Claude Pogach with 566 West Gladys. In last meeting, city received back a survey. Was rather happy about it. 48% of the population of Elmhurst that was sent to replied. 52% didn't. 52% of the people you applied a survey to didn't feel it was worthwhile replying to the survey. If you were running for office and you were on the short end of that, none of you'd be here. So 52% of the people surveyed didn't take the time. Also, it appears that we have a little problem with parking garages. They were sold to the city with the idea in mind that residents would have a place to park. Now we find the residents that ride Metro don't have a place to park, and they're debating them. The business establishments need places to park. Their employees need places to park, but it appears the residents are not even in the running. I guess they paid for it, but we pay for it, but we have to take the attitude we can't use it. And finally, last meeting, 2 citizens of this city presented to this legal department of this city a question about the passing of an ordinance. As of this time, I have not seen anything publicly stated, and I would dearly like to hear what the legal department has to say about that question of whether that ordinance was passed. Not from the mayor, not from the city manager, but from the legal department that I pay very dearly for. So I hope we can get an answer tonight, because if we can't, and I don't want to hear anybody reading about pulling out Robert's Rules of Order. I don't want to hear anybody saying these are the bylaws of this automatic meeting, because it either was or was not legally done. So I hope we can hear tonight how this is going to come down. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Marilyn and Darrell Cariti, 525 South Poplar.
Whoops. My name's Darrell Creedy. It's my wife, Marilyn. After 56 years of marriage, I decided to do a little talking.
I am Marilyn Creedy and my husband Darrell. We live at 525 South Poplar. We have lived at this address for 38 years, but we have been residents of Elmhurst for 50 years. The purpose of this letter is to inquire about the city resident share program. On July the 24th, we received 5 inches of sewage in the lower level, namely our basement, utility room, and family room. I had to call for help since my husband had been out of the hospital for only 2 days due to a heart condition. The sewage came in through our bathroom toilet due to its sanitary sewer located at the back of our property, located on the northeast corner, which serves 3 houses, ours at 525 Poplar, our neighbor at 521 Poplar, and the house at the corner of Holly and South. To our knowledge, this sewer has not been cleaned recently. The last time I recall that this was properly cleaned was 10 years ago under the direction of city employee Tony Cazone. We lost everything in our family room, but we were able to salvage our washer, dryer, hot water tank, and furnace. My husband and I were not allowed downstairs due to the high bacteria and mold content. On Sunday, July the 25th, we had Service Master in to clean, 3 men for 6 hours. The following week, we had Russ's Plumbing and Sewer in to check our house. They advised us that our house was not conducive for overhead sewers and recommended installation of a check valve. On August the 7th, the preliminary work was done by Chris Karani, employed by Irvin Steinable. On August the 9th, the installation was done by Russ's Plumbing, and on August the 14th, Mr. Karani completed the cleanup and restoring the grounds. Mr. Karani helped with this work due to the overload demand on the plumber. In closing, we are asking for half of the cost per your resident share program. Our cost of $1,521, if shared, would cost the city only $760, which is much less than the $5,000 for overhead sewers, which is not feasible for our home. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mrs. Creedy.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline.
Regarding the issue of the motor fuel tax ordinance, the report by the city attorney last week was short on detail and arrived at a foregone conclusion without presenting a logical or stepwise chain of reasoning. After hearing the thumbnail report, I am left to wonder, is this city council under any obligation to follow the city code, chapter 2, section 6, council rules of order? The answer quite obviously should be yes. Most certainly not no, and also not maybe, not when we feel like it, and not only when we think somebody may be watching. City council should follow the rules as delineated in chapter 2, section 6 of the city code all the time, just as all residents are expected to abide by the city code as it pertains to them. It is ludicrous to me for the city attorney to advise this council otherwise, but that's essentially what he did in his report. And since nobody questioned him at the time, one is left to conclude that you all agree it's okay for city council to make up its own rules as it goes along. The body that is charged with making the rules that everyone must live by cannot be bothered itself with following basic rules of procedure. How ironic. The City Council Rules of Order include within them procedures to suspend the rules, as well as procedures to repeal or amend them. If you don't like the rules, then do one of those things. Temporary suspension of the rules, as delineated in subsection HH, requires a minimum vote of 3/4 of the aldermen present. At the meeting when the motor fuel tax ordinance was discussed, 12 aldermen were present. 3/4 of 12 is 9. So a vote of 9 aldermen would have been required to suspend the rules. The amendment to the ordinance and the ordinance itself were passed by votes of 8-4. There were not 9 votes in favor at any time, so it is quite likely that a vote to suspend the rules would have failed. Following procedure would have changed the outcome that night. And it wouldn't have cost you anything to do this the right way. There was no legitimate need to rush that amendment through. Stormwater management is a long-term proposition, and locking into place a hastily conceived funding mechanism did not need to be the first step. Given how all this has transpired, how am I as a resident supposed to believe anything you say regarding the reasons behind implementing new taxes such as this motor fuel tax, and such as the increased property tax for this year, which is already under discussion? Furthermore, one can only wonder what other rules you all, collectively or individually, are willing to bend or to break in an effort to achieve your desired outcomes.
Thank you.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street. As an accountant, I admire when people do something of accountability, and I saw in this week's packet that Alderman Shea and Alderman Pezza are asked to refer a spending issue to a committee so that it gets looked at, because some accountability was voted for when the proposal was put forth. And I appreciate things like that, because I think being prudent with your money is something that you should do, as I've stated here previously. So I also was reading through the packet and read about Grand Avenue at York, and you're planning to put up signage there to make it unified with the rest of the city, which I agree with. But also it talked about putting in sidewalks in order to unify those sidewalks on the whereas section with the city center and Elmhurst College. And unless you're planning to extend the sidewalks all the way from Grand Avenue up to probably North Avenue, where they currently are the pavers, it seems kind of not necessarily a prudent use of money when you definitely have other things you could spend it on, such as stormwater remediation, which is certainly my topic. And so I would like you to think about that when you go forth and discuss that tonight. Additionally, our neighborhood has a question which I was asked to pose, which is with regards to, there's a sign up for, and I apologize, I missed one of the words, it's American Recovery Act, being put forth on First, and we would like to know what that's for. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Patricia Reginelli, do you want to speak, or, okay, she passes. All right, Mayor, I believe that concludes everyone that signed in anyway to speak at public forum.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. We will officially close the public forum of the meeting and go on to our next item, which is number 9, our consent agenda. At this time, I'd ask if there is anyone that has a question on any particular item, or possibly might want to vote no, to indicate that at this time. Alderman Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Also, real quick, if you're going to acknowledge something, you might want, we could always do that under other business as well, too. If it's a referral, stuff like that, that can go under other business. So
I couldn't agree with you more on that statement.
Okay.
Letter I, as in indigo.
Anybody else? All right, hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve the contents of the consent agenda in its entirety, less item I. Alderman Pezza with a motion, Alderman Healy with the second, and Clerk Spencer, if you call the roll, please.
Pezza.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose. Absent. Graham.
Aye.
Pipskin. Absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo. Absent. It's 11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent. The motion, or the consent agenda is passed, less item I. And at this time, I'd ask for a motion and a second to put item I, I'd ask for Clerk Spencer to read the report, please.
Okay.
For item I.
Therefore, it is the recommendation of the Development, Planning, and Zoning Committee that the City Council approve this request for conditional use. The City Attorney is hereby directed to prepare an ordinance authorizing the conditional use as presented. Respectfully submitted, Development, Planning, and Zoning Committee, signed by Stephen Morley, Chair, Susan J. Rose, Vice Chair, and Norman Leader, Alderman, 2nd Ward.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this report on the floor, please. Alderman Morley with a motion, and a second by Alderman Brown. Alderman Morley. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a report. We've got a application for conditional use to erect a wireless tower in what I would consider best way to put it. Our tower area in North Elmhurst, it's kind of in an industrial park. Committee reviewed it. We felt that it was an appropriate use and approved the application. I'd be curious to see what the objection is. I hope everyone will support it.
Thank you, Alderman. Mr. Chairman. Alderman Brown, discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm actually not here to debate the issue at hand, but debate the legitimacy of the procedure of going forward on this issue. I did distribute before tonight's meeting at everybody's dais, including the city attorney, 3 items, one of which is from our zoning code, section 311-10. And the other 2 pages are from the Zoning and Planning Commission report, the last page from there, and the minutes of the Zoning and Planning Commission meeting, the 2nd page and final page from that as well. I first referenced the first page, chapter 3, 1110, action by the City Council, and this is under the conditional use section. Item A, the City Council shall not act upon a proposed conditional use allowed under this ordinance until it shall have received a written report and recommendation from the Zoning and Planning Commission. This one struck a chord with me because normally when we see something come to the dais, there's usually, not saying there has to be, but there's consensus between the Zoning and Planning Commission as well as the committee. In this case, the Zoning and Planning Commission voted on this, and it was a tie vote, 4-4. And if you look on the 2nd or 3rd page, the report from the Zoning and Planning Commission on this item states, therefore, due to the tie vote in this case, there cannot be a recommendation for or against the applicant's request. And I also just included the meeting minutes of the Zoning and Planning Commission, which also states the exact same thing. The vote, second to last paragraph on that page, the vote was a 4-4 tie, resulting in there being essentially no recommendation from the commission of the applicant's request. So therefore, my question to the city attorney is, is this legitimate for not only the committee to move forward on it, because it seems to be clear to me in the city zoning ordinance that we shall not move forward on any request that does not have a recommendation from the Zoning and Planning Commission, which the report from the Zoning and Planning Commission tie vote stated clearly that it's not, there's no recommendation, because how can you have a recommendation when it's tied? That's like me asking for a recommendation from a friend. They say, oh, I don't care. That's not a recommendation to me, and this isn't a recommendation either. It's a tie vote. So therefore, I'd like to have a reference on how we can move forward on this such request. And in my eyes, in my interpretation of the zoning ordinance, we not only shouldn't be moving forward on this, but if the petitioner so chooses, they should be coming back to the Zoning and Planning Commission to refile. So if I can get a interpretation of what I deem to be the zoning ordinance, Chapter 3, 11-10 by the city attorney.
Thank you.
City Attorney Strino? Absolutely.
It is a unique result that came out of the Plan Commission. I had occasion to talk to Darrell Whistler, the chairman, for some time about it, and I think he told me that that's the first time that this has ever occurred. Having said that, I think that the DPZ committee appropriately took the matter from the Plan Commission even without a recommendation. And there's no question that the alderman has cited the section that shall not act upon a proposed conditional use from planning and zoning on a proposed conditional use without a recommendation. I would say that if I was there that evening, I probably would have said to the Plan Commission that a 4-4 tie would have resulted in a failure of the motion, because when there is a tie vote on a matter will fail for lack of a majority. Either way, the board is going to be, the city council is going to make the final decision in this instance. You are the final say. They are a recommending body, and the city council will make the final decision on this conditional use. That's not for me to say that if the will of this council is that this matter be referred back to the Plan Commission, you could certainly do that and hope that the Plan Commission can come to a different result, meaning not a tie result, the next time around. However, if they fail in that charge, the petitioner clearly has the right to have a decision made on his petition.
Any other discussion? Alderman Mulder.
Yeah, I know, I'm not going to state how I feel about this particular tower, but I do have, I'm not sure if we just walked around what our ordinance says or not. I'm a little bit confused. Our ordinance clearly says that we need a report and recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And not that I want to delay something like this, because I think that there's some benefits to cell towers, et cetera. However, I believe we need to follow our rules. And our rules clearly state that we should have a report or recommendation from the Zoning and Planning Commission. That may be a vote, a negative vote, it may be a positive vote, doesn't matter. Council can override the negative vote. But I still think we need a report or recommendation. Therefore, I'm recommending that we send this back to the Zoning Commission. That's a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to send this back to committee. Commission. Or commission, I should say. Commission, not committee. Discussion on that motion. Alderman Morley.
I would ask the city attorney if that's a motion's in order to send it from here back to the commission before I comment.
I can't come up with any rule that would prohibit that from happening, just as I'm thinking. But if you have one, point it out to me and I'll evaluate it, but I'm not aware of one.
Alderman Morley, Mr. Chairman.
I guess I interpret it just slightly differently. I see it says in our rules, written report and recommendation. I think that is the intent of what's supposed to happen coming out of the commission. I think this is a unique situation. In fact, we did discuss it in committee. Interestingly enough, actually, the commission chair, Mr. Whistler, was in attendance. And we did ask city staff if it was appropriate for us to move forward on this. And I disagree with the motion to send this back, and I guess, as one of our residents pointed out, if we have to suspend the rules tonight, I'd be in favor of that, but I can't add to a secondary motion. Here's my concern. I haven't heard any substantive arguments against the relevancy of the application itself. All I've heard is that maybe we've semantically gone around a little bit. My concern is similar to what I have sometimes with some of the stuff we discussed up here. This commission works very hard. The Zoning and Planning Commission works very hard. They have a lot on their plate. I don't think it was the intent of the Zoning or Planning Commission to come out and to not have the City Council rule on this or vote on this. I think it's asking a lot for us to send it back to the Commission just so they can get one extra vote one way or the other, when I'd like to point out that it's simply a recommendation one way or the other, but it's not binding. As has been pointed out, it is not, the committee itself, the DP&Z committee, is not required to follow the recommendation one way or the other. So while I guess I agree in principle that you could interpret our bylaws, if you will, not to rule on this with a recommendation, I would ask for a dose of common sense and not to waste the Commission's time by sending this back. So I can't support the motion to amend.
Alderman Leader.
If I heard our city attorney correctly, he said that in the past, a tie would be a rejection of the request. And in my 5 years, I can remember situations like that when we had a tie, and to the best of my knowledge, we have had ties, but they've been interpreted as saying no to the recommendation. Now, I would like to ask the city attorney first, did I understand you to say that?
You did.
Okay, so then, in your opinion, you are the city attorney of the city of Elmhurst. You are saying that a tie is a rejection of the request. So we actually had a decision made. Second of all, I would like, as Alderman Morley said, the Zoning and Planning Commission, is an advisory body. We are the body that acts in the last resort. So what we are saying, in effect, is that we are giving up some of our authority here, unnecessarily so. So I feel the same as Alderman Morley, that nothing has been said about the merits of the issue. The only issue here is one of legality, and the only lawyer sitting here is our city attorney. So I don't want to send this back to zoning and planning.
Thank you, Alderman Leader. I also want to just point of clarification. We do have 3 signatures on this report, unanimous, coming out of our committee, coming out of the Committee of Zoning. And also, there has been decisions that have come out of the commission that have come out in a negative way that we have reversed. One that I know for sure was the issue on North and 83 that we did a reversal on. So just a point of clarification, this has come up in the past. It's confirmed by our city attorney, and we have unanimous coming out of our own committee. So I will, for further discussion, Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to counter a couple of points. We're not discussing the relevancy of the application because we need to dispose of this issue first. This isn't about whether or not the cell tower should be built, whether or not the applicant has the right to ask for conditional use. This is really about whether or not the City Council is following not its bylaws, but its laws, its ordinances, those rules that we establish under which we are supposed to operate. And if we cavalierly ignore them, then we're failing to behave in a manner that we were elected to behave. So this is really a substantive discussion about how City Council is supposed to operate. It's impossible to know the intent of the Commission because they didn't issue a written report. Had they either supported or rejected the applicant, we'd have a written report before us with some justification as to what they were considering. Neither the minutes nor the ruling that came out of commission discuss this application at all. So I have no way of knowing what the issues were among the commission. The minutes are very sparse. It has, in fact, been the case that the Development Planning and Zoning Committee has disagreed with the commission's recommendations. Fine, but at least we've got a well thought out argument to react against, but we don't in this case. So I'm not comfortable that I'm in a position to discuss the merits, pro and con, of this conditional use application because there's nothing of substance for me to talk about. So I can't talk about the relevancy of the application, and I can't support us subverting the rules that are written in front of me that say this is how we're supposed to behave. So it's not that big a deal for it to go back to the commission, and the commission can take a vote on it, and they can give us a written report that can explain what they were thinking, and it might not change the outcome of the committee, but it might, because the committee would have at least something to react to. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Shea?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first, what concerned me is said that Mr. Whistler said that this had never happened before in the zoning commission. And then also with the zoning ordinance saying that we need a recommendation, I'm a firm believer in following the procedures, so I have to support sending it back to the commission.
All righty, Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I look at this and say, did the Zoning and Planning Commission do its job? They did their job. They reviewed it. They couldn't come to an agreement. They were a 4-4 tie. Where I think the mistake was made in that their recommendation was in effect, we have no recommendation. We've heard City Attorney Strino say that should have been a rejection of the application. So because a potential mistake was made in how they wrote the recommendation to us, we're going to send it back and say, rewrite this?
Yeah.
I think that's a waste of time. And because we've heard the City Attorney Strino say that's basically what should have happened, we're going to circumvent what our committee has said. We're going to go back and say, hey, just change this, change it to read it's a rejection, then send it back to committee, then send it back to us. I think the intent of the ordinance is followed. I won't support the motion to move back to the ZPZ, and I will support the majority report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Healy. Alderman Pezza?
Thank you, Mayor. I also support sending this back because I don't think, or I know personally I have nothing to base a vote on. I don't want to surmise what I'm guessing they wanted us to think. They voted the way they voted, and that's all we know. We don't have a report, a recommendation, and for us to say one way or the other, well, because it was a tie, then that means they did want it. We could say because it was a tie, that means they didn't want it. It was a tie. A decision was not reached. A report was not rendered. A recommendation was not brought forth. I don't want the committee to be acting arbitrarily. We have a commission for a reason. We need to, as I said, I've heard this happen one other time. I didn't see the part where Chairman Whistler, who I really respect, said that has never happened. But the fact that the chairman of the commission and 3 others voted no, tied it with 4 others that voted yes, and we basically, all we have to do is try and guess what they meant or how they wanted to gauge our vote. I just don't want to get into the habit of us, the practice of us going around the rules or trying to figure out what the rules are supposed to be or what somebody meant by what they did. I believe in process, I believe in following procedure, and if we're going to continue to guess or surmise what somebody meant,
when we don't really know or have nothing to really base it on, I don't think that's appropriate, so I cannot support doing this. I would like to see it go back, and I believe it's not our job to tell them to rewrite this or to vote differently. We just say it needs to start over again, and however it's handled and whatever they come back with, it's in their hands. It's not up to us to tell them just rewrite this. I think there's more to it than that.
City Attorney Storino?
As I've been sitting listening to the argument, I do want to point out one thing that was, in fairness, pointed out by the chairman to me when I had this conversation with him, which is, again, extraordinary on another level, is that there are no findings. And you would normally have findings. So as I sit here and I'm thinking about the proper procedure, and I'm not prepared to say that it's not that we would be not following our rules. I don't know that I could honestly say that by the reading of our code here. I'm not prepared to say that, but by the same token, I would say that there are no findings, and there probably ought to be some findings. So if you were at all considering sending it back, I think I would probably send it back for that purpose, to ask the commission to at least make findings, so that the council would have, to make findings, though, I'm going to say this to you, to make findings, you have to have a majority, because is it going to be a positive or is it going to be a negative? But at least some findings about its attempt to meet the standards of the zoning code and the conditional use.
Alderman Morley, and I'll go to Alderman Mulliner.
Just a couple things I'd like to point out. First of all, Chairman Whistler didn't participate in the vote. He recused himself. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the paragraph above it. I don't have the report in front of me. The other thing I wanted to point out, which is more important, quite frankly, is that there seems to be an assumption that the commission didn't actually do any work on this. The only thing that happened with the commission is that the last line of the report said, "We therefore do not have a recommendation." I just want to make sure that that is understood, that the commission fully vetted this. And when it got to the end, they had a 4-4, pardon me, they had a 4-4 vote. And they said, therefore, we do not have a recommendation. But that's, I don't want to leave the impression for anybody who's watching that the commission did not submit, did not get any minutes, or that they did not deliberate this at all, because that's the impression I'm getting. That's all.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Mulliner?
I would amend my sending it back to the commission to ask them to put in findings so that they don't have to go through the whole process. I would have no problem with that, because that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the fact that they need to finish, and not necessarily that they didn't finish it, but we're not saying that the commission didn't do their job. What we're saying is that we need that one piece that's missing out of this, and there's one piece missing out of this.
Alderman Morley?
I would support that. If we're just going back to them for a clarification,
That's all.
I'll support
That's
it.
all.
I just don't want them to have to go all the way back to the beginning.
100%.
Very good. Are you okay?
I think we need a second on that.
I support it.
Seconded by Alderman Gutenkopf. Very good. Just to go back for findings, correct? Okay, very good. At this point, do we need to keep the discussion going, or I think we can probably call the roll?
Can I pull it back to my committee?
Pardon me?
No?
No. Wait a minute. That's not the, could we vote on the motion?
If I pull it back to my committee, can't they give me more information, which would be a report that clarifies their position?
There's a pending motion.
There's the pending motion, I think, overrides it.
Withdraw it, I guess.
Withdraw it.
Okay. All righty. Any other discussion, or Alderman Leader?
I just wanted to, a point of order, I guess, is that what exactly are we voting on, Alderman Mulliner?
I'm asking to send this back to the commission for them to add findings to the report.
That's all.
That's all. That's all.
Is that? Okay. So I think this kind of satisfies everybody. No, it doesn't? Alderman Pezza?
I don't want to butt into his, it's a,
Your call.
Alderman Brown?
Thank you. I guess one of the points that I would like to make is exactly what does the pending motion mean. But before I move on, from my statements, because I don't know if that means a revote or just adding some additional verbiage, since we don't have one direction, pro or con, from this from the commission. I just want to reiterate, I think some things were interpreted that might not, well, are not accurate, at least in my viewpoint. One of which, I'm not saying that the commission has not done their job. They have done their job. They have went through this. They've issued a report. The report thoroughly states, which is submitted by staff, as well as, I believe, and this might be an assumption, sometimes reviewed by our city attorneys as necessary. But it states, therefore, due to the tie vote in this case, there cannot be a recommendation for or against the applicant's request. That's stated in the meeting minutes, which is submitted by city staff. The report is submitted by Darrell Whistler, the chairman of the commission. So if I compare that with what our zoning ordinance states, I don't see a way that we can move forward without some type of clear recommendation in one direction. There's absolutely no findings, as the city attorney has stated, from what was currently issued to date. And the only reason why I have not debated the issue at hand, because I am concerned with the procedure at hand and where we are today, according to where our zoning code, at least my interpretation of the zoning code, states where we should be. So therefore, I would like to see not only a go back to the commission with findings, but a direction. It's not pros or cons here. It's a tie vote. It states in the report there's no recommendation. So in order for a recommendation, you need a majority. I guess that's the way I'm reading our ordinances, and that's the way that I would follow them, and will be following them this evening. So, and if I could please get a clarification on what is meant by the current pending motion, I appreciate it, if it's just findings or if that means that an additional vote to clear a direction from the commission. Thank you.
I believe it's just findings. I'll defer to Alderman Mulliner, who actually made the amendment.
My direction was to do findings. The reality is that, based on what I just heard the city attorney state, the city attorney said a tie to vote is going to cause them to have findings that are going to be in the negative direction. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do anything more, but he clearly stated that a tie vote is going to create that. Therefore, the findings they're going to have to develop are going to have to be in that direction, or should be in that direction.
I would agree with that.
Very good. Okay. Hearing no other discussion, ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose, absent. Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin, absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo, absent. Healy.
No.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
10 ayes, 1 nays, and 3 absent.
10 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 absent. The motion to amend, to go back to, for findings is passed. Do I need to go to underline motion?
I just want to be clear with the council. I think you should. There was a motion to refer back to the Plan Commission. I think you have to call the roll.
So we have to call
on
the
that
roll.
motion on the.
Now we're going to the.
Just pass the amendment. You now have to pass the base motion.
Right.
The underlying motion.
And the amended, the one we just passed, does this underlying motion have to pass for that to go through, or is?
Yes. I mean, the
Okay.
assumption is that.
Just want to clarify.
The motion's going to pass.
Okay, very good. And Clerk Spencer, if you could please call the roll, please.
Morley.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin, absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo, absent. Healy.
No.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order. Which one? We're voting on my original referral to send it back to the commission, correct?
Yes, sir.
We are?
And then you're just calling the wrong.
We're calling the wrong roll.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Yes,
I thought we
that's
were
why I called the point of
on the committee
order.
report. We're not voting on that.
No, we're voting.
No, we're not
on-
voting on-
Go
okay.
back to the commission.
Before he amended it.
So
Okay.
it's a different roll call. Different roll order.
Apologize for the confusion.
But just to clarify, the amendment still sticks to this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to double check.
All right, So we'll go back here. Mulliner,
Aye.
Gudenkauf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose, absent. Bram.
Aye.
Hipskin, absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo, absent. Healy.
No.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
10 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 absent.
10 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 absent. That motion passes. And on to item number 10, reports and recommendations of appointed and elected officials, updates from Mayor Welsh and Mayor DeCiani.
Go here, Mayor Walsh? Okay.
All right.
Welcome to staying up late.
First thing I would like to report on is the storm relief by FEMA. Actually, I was with a constituent the other day. We actually went out to St. Joe's High School, which is the FEMA center. If you're looking to file any type of appeals, you've been denied from FEMA, you have until October 18th to get those appeals filed. If you haven't filed even a initial request, there is still time. There is a couple weeks left. To date, over $200 million has come from FEMA to this region. $200 million. Several million have come to Elmhurst. I've had constituents come up to me and say they've received $2,000, $3,000, $17,000, $23,000, one as high as a little over $30,000. Many of those on Washington Street. I was with a couple of constituents the other day, and they were very, very pleased that FEMA was there to assist. And even some of those dollars are on top of insurance claims. So they may have gotten $10,000 or $20,000 from their insurance company, and FEMA's still adding on, in some cases, even on top of those numbers. So I encourage people to go to our website. We've got the quick links for stormwater. If for some reason you don't have access to the web, the 1-800 number for FEMA is 1-800-621-FEMA, 1-800-621-FEMA, and they will contact you usually within a day or two to go through either the initial request or an appeal. I would hope that most people at this point are at an appeal situation, but some people that thought they never even qualified for FEMA and they've never even applied, if you are in that situation, please do so, because the dollars have been coming. They've been expeditious, and we thank our president and Senator Durbin, who have come to Elmhurst, and all the mayors that helped me push this push to get this declaration made. Mayor Puglia from Westchester, Mayor Severino from Carroll Stream, and all the surrounding mayors that literally came out in droves to really push this effort. So I think that's very, very important, and I thank all of them. Second, on my report is the Elmhurst Hospital, the Bertot campus. A press release was given by Elmhurst Hospital with a announcement that the Bertot campus will be converted and will be used by the community. It will be a multiple-use facility for seniors. There will be behavioral health and senior care in the hospital portion of the facility. There will be a medical office building as well. Parking garage will stay intact, and roughly about 2/3 of the current hospital, the old portion of the hospital, will eventually be redeveloped into some sort of senior housing with a private partner element to that. So I'd like to congratulate the CEO of Elmhurst Hospital, Mr. Franza, and also the new president, Mr. Daniels, for bringing this plan forward. It's a plan that I think is a good plan. It's a plan that is encompassed the people. Our senior commission has been advised with this plan as well too. There will be some sort of a senior center at this facility, and they are currently in discussion with the Park District Executive Director Gratzky as to how that could possibly be worked out, possibly with them and possibly in collaboration with the City of Elmhurst too. So I think we're good at working with our partners in the community, and I think that campus will be used in a very good way to help our senior population, which is definitely a huge portion of our community. We have the largest senior base in DuPage County right here in Elmhurst, and I think to be able to have housing for them, from independent all the way through skilled nursing is important. So, also, I wanted to make everybody aware that the task force, those that will be serving the task force, will be notified this week from our city staff. We are planning on Tuesday, October 12th, our first education workshop, and all those folks on the task force will be advised this week, called personally. Those that are not selected on the task force will also be called and thanked personally as well too. We had an overwhelming response, and I appreciate that. It's nice that we have people willing to serve, and I believe we had over 80 applicants, and the final task force will be a number of around 30. So to give everybody an idea, and we'll be breaking those people into probably 4 components, from ComEd to stormwater to finance, how we're going to pay for this, et cetera. So I'm looking forward to those folks joining us and helping us along in this process. We want the residents to help us along with this, to help look at our situation, get educated on our infrastructure, and hopefully come up with some solutions along with our city engineer, Christopher Burke, who's helping us in the interim until we actually come back with the RFQ process on that. So with that, that's all I have. City Manager Borchert, anything from the city manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to do a little short status report of our progress on the Stormwater Comprehensive Plan. I've got 2 handouts. City staff, with again Burke as the consulting engineer, will be providing the education workshops beginning, the first one beginning prior to the committee meetings next week. The committee meetings next week are on Tuesday because of the Monday federal holiday. First meeting, workshop meeting, will cover the wastewater treatment plant, and we anticipate that a binder will be provided to the city council, certainly, and to the members of the task force and press to follow along this education process. And there'll be an appendix for supplemental information. At least in the supplemental information, there will be a series of articles from newspapers that have chronicled and documented Elmhurst's progress over the many, many, many years on stormwater and sanitary sewer and wastewater treatment handling and management. And in a summary of the beginning and in a summary statement we have made for the council and the press, I think we've got enough for the press, copies of a 1959 article of the newspapers that started the process, along with the special edition City of Elmhurst newsletter. One each and go that way, and one each and go that way. The 1959 article documents that the beginning of the Elmhurst process of upgrading its comprehensive program of water management. On the front page of the Elmhurst Press article, you will see that the consultant to the city reported after an analysis that the city should, he made a series of recommendations and said that the city should separate its combined sewer system and providing then a sanitary system and a storm system. Furthermore, said that you can't afford a system which would provide for storms of 25 or 50-year frequency. You can't live with a system that only has 2-year frequency, and he recommended a design of the system of a 10-year storm, which was ultimately constructed. That 10-year solution was consulted, and furthermore, the city went on and did a number of work with the wastewater treatment plant. The 1959 report talks about a hope and a dream that maybe things would be done with Salt Creek so you wouldn't have to pump the water in the storm sewer system into the creek. That obviously didn't work because the city of Elmhurst has to pump that water. Then there was a 1988 document prepared by the mayor, city council, city staff at the time that summarized the comprehensive work that had been completed since the 87 flood and was committed to and going forward. You can go through that at your leisure, but it identifies a commitment for millions of dollars on the storm side and millions of dollars on the sanitary side. That add up to over $52 million of work on Salt Creek, which was completed, and then work on the storm water system and its pumping system, and then on the collection system, and in removing infiltration and inflow, and in assisting homeowners with stormwater separation in their private properties. So that work's been done. That helps bring us to where we're at, and we'll be working again with the Burke firm. Burke will analyze further where the city is at and options and alternatives for going forward in that regard. Again, beginning with the first workshop a week from tomorrow. Relative to the June and July events, as you all know, there was the information hearing meeting at the South Middle School. Since that time, I would report that the city has analyzed the submittals that were turned in after that evening. The city staff has reviewed and taken action on those items that it has gleaned from that, forwarded all of those documents to Burke for their analysis. Relative to community contacts, every home that expressed, not at that meeting, but subsequent to that meeting, made a phone call or made an email inquiry asking for assistance, consultation, or further information. Contacts have been made on all those cases. So if there is a citizen in the community that is still seeking information, we lost that request, please call the manager's office or the Public Works office or email us, and we will respond to you. I'm not saying the city has solved the problems, but we believe, responded to those folks that have asked for a report, asked for information, or asked for some assistance. Relative to, that's over 500 to 600 contacts have been made. Relative to the overhead sewer system, at this point, 18 properties have completed the installation and have been inspected and have been reimbursed. 21 additional have started the process after having submitted their application and had their application approved. That adds up to 39 then that are in action relative to providing that protection to themselves and removing, in almost all cases, the stormwater that was previously going by gravity to the sanitary sewer. There are an additional 40 applications that are being reviewed and 69 that are on the list that have been provided information that haven't responded. Of the 18 that have been reimbursed, the average reimbursement is at $3,800. If you would recall, the maximum is 50%, not to exceed $5,000. So there looks like there will be an ability to respond to significantly more than 90 property owners. Relative to the Burke assignment, again, Burke was brought on board by the city manager and city staff with the authority provided by the council in that regard. The city council then authorized an actual contract that goes in spending above the manager's authority. The Burke firm is working on all points in their contract. They anticipate that in the next, by the end of October, they will have an interim report as to their findings on the two pumping stations in the middle of the worst flood zone area, specifically the sanitary lift station at Sailor and Jackson. The Burke firm was asked to look into the force main, the sanitary force main that exits that station. That force main is actually in the city's budget for replacement, in that budget replacement before the events. But before that budget is expended, Burke will look at what is the proper size and location for that lift station force main. And in addition, there is an emergency overflow at that Sailor Jackson station. The size and the location of that emergency overflow is being looked at by Burke. They will have their interim report completed within the month of October. The storm station in that area is the Jackson Street at the Creek Station. City staff had identified that there are, from a staff perspective, some possibilities that could provide for enhanced operations there. The Burke firm is looking at that and believe they'll have a recommendation within by the end of the month. I reported last week that Commonwealth Edison has provided an interim report. They are anticipating a final report, again, by or within a week of the end of October. The last item of significance with the interim work of Burke is to look at the on-street flooding locations and to begin the analysis of what has occurred at those locations, what is the elevations at those locations, and what perhaps could be done to alleviate the severity of that on-street flooding, where in some cases that on-street flooding did get into structures, which is certainly to be avoided if at all possible. Again, the schedule for the reports on the existing systems, October 12th is the wastewater treatment plant. The fourth Monday in October would be the report on Salt Creek. The first committee meeting in November, November 8th, will report on the sanitary system, and then on the fourth Monday in November, November 22nd, we'll report on the storm system. By the end of October, the responses should be in from the firms that are responding to the request for qualifications. Again, this is kind of flowing together appropriately with the mayor's task force. They will be able to look over the shoulder of the city staff and of the review committee and of the rest of the city council and provide their thoughts as we go forward on this process. Again, I think we'll find that the city of Elmhurst has, over the years, been more aggressive and progressive than not the case. But when storms are as severe as we've experienced of late, there's going to be failure of the system. There's going to be backup in the system, and we need to manage that backup in as aggressive a way as possible to minimize the damages associated with that, and certainly provide as much information as possible to property owners so that they can protect themselves if at all possible. And all of those things are on the list of for the responding consultants to be prepared to study if they're selected. So that's the status of that. Mr. Mayor, if there's any questions, be pleased to answer them, and we look forward again to a week from tomorrow to begin the education program specifically on the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you, City Manager Borchert. Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, to do what I said I didn't want to do, and that was to get ahead of the comprehensive plan. I'm going to get ahead of the comprehensive plan a little bit. I've heard from a number of people that they've had the same situation that we heard this evening about a check valve, that when they went to the plumber and they went to everybody else, that the overhead sewer wasn't a solution, and that the check valve was what was suggested that they use. And they're now asking the magical question of, well, if they're getting reimbursed for the overhead sewer, are we going to be reimbursing for the check valve? And I consider that to be a very valid question. I mean, I'm not sure if it does the same thing, and this is the reason why I'm very interested in a comprehensive plan, so I fully understand that. But if we're going to be handing out money to people who are putting in overhead sewers, I mean, if I'm going to spend $700 per house versus $5,000 per house, I can do a lot more houses if the check valve is as effective in certain locations. So I guess, and I don't need an answer right away, but I think this is one of the things that we need to look at as we look at the comprehensive plan. The other thing that this evening, one of the things that we pushed forward this evening was the lining of the sewers, the main sewers, for a number of streets to go to Public Works for that committee to look at. one of the things that I've heard, and I heard it from Dr. Burke a number of times, and I heard it from Mike Hughes a number of times, and that was that the laterals need to be lined just as much as the main sewers. So I'm wondering if, as we look at that, if we can look at, once again, getting ahead of the plan a little bit, if we can look at what the cost of lining the laterals is and whether we can do a split with the homeowners as well to help them out in that area. I know one plumber who's already been out doing that for some of the homes. So I'd like to, have those things incorporated into the studies that we're doing, because I think we need to help these other homeowners out who don't just have overhead sewer issues.
City Manager Borcher.
Yeah, that's, we heard tonight of a request that was submitted, I think, in public forum relative to a check valve installation. It would be the staff's intent to certainly receive that and hold that, and understanding that there is a positive benefit from a check valve. And in some cases, you can actually do a check valve and also remove the clean water from the sanitary system, which is the objective that's part of the requirements for the folks that are in the financing and receiving financing from the city on the installation of overhead sewers. It's the installation of the overhead sewers provides the sewer backup protection, but then the disconnection, if you will, of the gravity footing drains from the gravity lateral sanitary sewer by the installation of a sump pump. That is part of the request, part of the scope of work that anybody responding to the desire to be considered for the comprehensive plan analysis, that they will analyze that. So between now and then, or between now and when the Public Works Committee of the City Council would provide a policy relative to a check valve, city staff will track those that have installed a check valve and hold that information from the perspective of maintaining an equity position. If the City Council wishes to retroactively finance those, we'll have a record of those that have opted to make that type of an installation. Again, we know from Burke and we know from others that, and we know from the IEPA, that the city must continue its program of reducing infiltration and inflow into the sanitary system. So the ongoing work, which the City Council has supported in the 5-year capital plan and all the years past, and we anticipate years forward, will continue to have what's identified as the areas that the highest probability of getting significant infiltration improvements with the sewer lining will continue to be part of the city budget.
Alderman York.
I just wanted to make a comment. Alderman Hipskin and I put in a referral a few weeks ago for additional consideration for private property protection and things like this, and this was certainly one of the things on our list. When it comes to committee, we'd like to come and delve further into the different things that we envisioned in this referral, to include the possibility of check valves, but also structures in or around private structures to alleviate the overland flooding. So it's certainly something that we wanted to consider in our referral.
City Manager Borcher.
And that is, again, part of the scope of work that is involved with the document that's out for engineers to be responding to. Not that it can't flood in October, November, and December. We've had some excess flow conditions, particularly in winter conditions when there's a frozen ground and then a significant fast thaw or heavy rainfall. But on the probability side, we're into the drier part of the year, which is a good time as we're waiting for our responses to come back from the consulting engineer and allowing for time for the committee and the council to continue doing its work. So that's on the positive side. But all of the work that the city has initiated, we're continuing to work on. I didn't say tonight, but we said earlier that all of the sewers have been checked in the area where there were backups, and there's no backups remaining. It was all a result of the high flow.
Alderman Brown.
Yeah, this is not flood related or overhead sewer related. I just had 3 items in regards to under reports and recommendations. One of which I want to thank my my neighbors and residents and friends from Conrad Fisher coming out tonight. The next thing I wanted to do is thank Mayor Walsh for a very well-run meeting this evening, and it's probably past my bedtime, maybe yours as well, Mayor. But in regards to city business, one of the residents brought up the American Recovery Act on, I believe, First. I believe that's restructuring of parking on First. I'm not sure, but if City Manager Borchert could verify my assumption that it's rearranging of parking on First.
You are correct. That was a project reviewed at the Public Works Committee and then approved at the City Council level. The city was successful in getting some federal support towards the improvement of parking along the Union Pacific Railroad track. So that's a work that is just beginning to take shape. You can't tell what's going on yet. Construction barricades are out there and the signs up there, but you'll soon begin seeing some opening of some areas where then parking would be shoehorned in along the railroad tracks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. On to item number 11, other business. Anybody else for other business? And on to item 12, announcements. Anybody with announcements? Alderman Shea.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that this Saturday, October 9th, is Share Fest. 5 churches in Elmhurst are coming together to serve the Elmhurst community. The projects they are providing range from yard work, house painting, to indoor plumbing and contract work. So if anyone knows of a neighbor, senior citizen, or someone that could use a little bit of help, please contact one of these churches: the Pathway Community Church, Elm Church, Faith Evangelical United Methodist, Grace Bible Church, or the West Suburban Church.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Kennedy, do you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to make an announcement on behalf of Bob Holst, Chairman of the Bike Task Force and also a 6th Ward resident, that on Wednesday, this Wednesday the 6th, is going to be Walk and Roll to School Day. This is something that's been really pushed by the Safe Routes to School group and the Bike Task Force. And there's going to be an article in Trib Local. I'm sure it'll be in the Trib later on this week, but that initiative, along with some of the folks from District 205, have put together a survey looking for grant money to improve the safety for children walking and biking to school, looking for up to $100,000 to do that. And so a big effort is underway there. And in fact, Edison will begin with a Walk to School Wednesdays this week, and they're forming walking buses, which means we've got residents and school children kind of assembling in a specific route and getting to school on foot or on bikes so that cars are not in the area. And they're going to do that every Wednesday until the end of school. They're going to do that. So I think it's a great thing, and really applaud the folks over at Edison for doing that.
Very good. Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Pezza.
Yes, thank you. Just quickly, I was able to attend this past Friday the Illinois Green Infrastructure Grant Workshop, sponsored by the Metropolitan Planning Council along with the IEPA. And I was excited. They are giving $5 million in grant money, and it's to projects that include addressing storm water. And what they're looking for is obviously unique and innovative ways that communities are planning to, in the future, be green with infrastructure and address stormwater and so on. I know, I believe Corey and also Director Mike Hughes are also going to attend, so I think that's excellent, and I'm hoping somehow, some way, Elmhurst can get in on that also. So we'll keep on them and see what we can get.
Very good. We're always looking for grant dollars. So, City Clerk Spencer.
More reminders on voting. Tomorrow, October 5th, is the last day to register to vote in person. And registration would be for this November 2nd election. And you can do so by coming to City Hall up to the administration office between 8:30 and 5, and you can register to vote. And a reminder about early voting at City Hall in the council chambers, October 12th through October 28th. And if you want to early vote at another DuPage County location, just check the website, DuPageelections.com. And early voting's for all registered voters in DuPage County. And lastly, I'd like to wish, and I know you all want to join me in this, a happy birthday to retired Police Chief William Payne, who is celebrating his 100th birthday on October 9th. Chief Payne resides at Lexington Square and has offered support, guidance, and mentorship to each succeeding police chief through the years. So I think we all need to give him a big happy 100th birthday.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. Any other announcements? Alderman York.
Just a reminder of the Ward 4 meeting tomorrow night at Redeemer Center. Redeemer Center is located on the north side of St. Charles between Kenilworth and Arlington. And the entry doors are on the east and west sides from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock.
Very good. And for those that aren't in the Fourth Ward and would like to come and watch a basketball game to raise money for Elmhurst Hospital, the Harlem Globetrotters are here in Elmhurst, and they're going to be at Elmhurst College and playing against some of our city mascots, including our city manager and probably one of the shortest mayors in Elmhurst, Mayor DeCiani, who was a star at Mary Queen Heaven High School, grade school. Alderman Wagner can attest to that. They allowed short guards at Mary Queen. So, should be a lot of fun. We're raising money for a great cause, and the Kiwanis are actually putting this together. Should be a good laugh. I'll be practicing my hook shot until tomorrow. And actually, speaking of Mary Queen, I was blessed to grow up in this town and have some people that really inspired me. One of which was Sister Honorata, Sister Alberta, and I couldn't help but when I was at Viz today with Mayor Walsh's class, when I kind of walked through that school, kind of reminisce a little bit about what Alderman Wagner and I kind of experienced at Mary Queen, and this is still ongoing here in Elmhurst at Viz and at IC, and I think Mayor Walsh would like to say a little thank you to a special sister at the visitation.
Sister Thomas Leo.
Yeah, she's a great lady, and actually when I met her, I said, Sister Thomas Leo, you're the official mayor here at Visitation, and I think anybody that knows Sister Thomas Leo can vouch for that. So she's a great lady, a great inspiration. She actually was a teacher back when Sister Honorata was teaching as well. So some fond memories, and these are impressions that are going to last you a lifetime, and maybe you will be the permanent mayor one day here in Elmhurst, and I think you do a hell of a job. You did a great job tonight. So with that, I want to thank our mayor for the day, Kathy Walsh, Mayor Kathy Walsh, and her family. Her mom's out in the audience for doing a great job tonight. And Mayor, would you like to ask for a motion here?
I would like for a motion to be adjourned.
All right. Do we have a motion? Oh, we got a lot of motions here. Everybody motioned. Alderman Morley, Alderman Gutenkopf, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Great job.